Alright, I told you I'd be back. It's 10 o'clock and all my children are sleeping. I had to wait a little bit longer for my phone to charge. And I don't know if it's light enough in here for you guys to see. I'm gonna mix my color, my base color for Esme. She's going to be an African American skin tone. If I didn't explain that already. So, get all that mixed up in my pot here. So, I don't know what else I should talk about because I mostly was doing this for her mommy. And so far, I might have Ophelia sold tomorrow. And if Sienna doesn't get sold by Thursday, I have someone that wants to buy him on Friday. So that way I can get my uncle those supplements by like next week. I need to figure out an app. I think I downloaded an app, but I haven't used for like, I need to find an app because I know Bean from Twisted Beanstalk Nursery says she uses an app on her phone to do her videos and it shows like full screen, but I think she has an iPhone. I don't have an iPhone. I have a Galaxy Mega big phone. So it's an Android app that I would need. So I downloaded the app, but I haven't used it yet because I don't want to sit here and do something forever on a video and then find out that it doesn't work. So I'm going to have to play around with that. To see if that does full screen because it would bug me to see the long skinny screen for my phone, but I know if you like you're watching on your phone and you hit the like expand button, it makes it to the full screen of your phone. So okay, I need more juice. I'm using the leftover mixture from my prep step. Let's see. To mix my base layer. I'm going to make it kind of like a golden brown on my base layer. And she already has 3 layers of mottling. But I need to get it somewhat darker. because I don't want to do 50,000 layers. That's how my first African American baby was like 50,000 layers of color. But with the prep step that I do, I can get it down to as little as like 3 layers if I get it just right. Maybe I need to use my bigger brush to mix so I can get that saturated color I want. And I don't have, because the Genesis Heat Set paints, since they're like oily and then 99% of the time it makes your labels fall off. I don't even know what colors I use. I just go by, because I have a plate, a metal plate, and I stick magnets on, so I just go by the color that's on the bottom, and that's how I mix my colors each time. I don't necessarily I have like a formula I use based on like steps. The steps that I use, but to get the color, I just eyeball it. So I'm gonna try this mix here. Make sure I have mix up my lids now. So I don't know if you can see this. Looks almost like milk chocolate that I'm going to use for my base layer. And I always like to do the head first. And this is a rolling pin for cakes. Like if you go in the craft store, usually it has like a pink and yellow rubber bands on it to do the thickness. See, putting this on, I could see I'd prefer it to be darker than this, but it's a start. And for the first one, I just go all over. And then for this layer, I only use 2 different color browns and the darker, it's not yellow ochre, it's like the shade darker than yellow ochre. I have planned to do a African American tutorial, skin tone tutorial for beginners next month is planned. I have realistic. I have 2 other tutorials available. I have realistic newborn skin tones, and the applied mohair for reborns. And what I could do next, because this is like a tan base here, is after I'm done doing this, what I will do is do just a straight yellow wash. To get that golden color that I want, the golden undertones. I got two different sponge types going on here along with my big brush to blend. And then in the creases, I just use, this brush was originally semi-pointed, but to get in those creases, you want everything, especially the darker skin tones. And I highly suggest always bake darker skin tones longer than your lighter ones, because with my first baby I found out doing another layer on top, it wouldn't be set completely, so it would take away, when I put wet paint down, it would take away some of the paint from the bottom layer. Let me tell you what, when stuff like that happens, it's so hard to fix it. Once you lose some of the bottom layer, it is so hard to get it corrected, especially with the darker skin tones. So I don't know if you can see a difference, but it's definitely a tan baby now. I don't know. You can see that. So definitely check behind the ears, in the ears. I always do this big brush, just an overall, and then I'll take my smaller brushes and I'll do inside the little creases in the ear, behind the ear, you know, because if you don't, and then you bake, and then when you paint over it with your next layer, it's going to be very obvious. That something's wrong. Like I see right here, there's a buildup of color on the front of the ear. But I will want to do another, just like a thin wash of this. I don't know if you can see it. It's the dark yellow. Let me see if I have. See this one. See, yellow ochre, darker. All right, so I am just gonna pop her head in the oven. going to be too loud, or if I have to talk louder. My favorite things to paint is the heads and the belly plates and stuff. So you can see the color difference. And also make sure too, which I'm probably going to have to stop the video or run real quick into my room and get some more thinner, because if you don't keep the same consistency in your paint and your paint gets too thick, you're going to get a darker color. I love this. It's like, I want to say like an almondy brown, like the inside of an almond, kind of. I'm gonna have to go get some more thinner because it's gonna get too dark. Finish using up what's on my brush here. Put her down for a second. And I'm going to go grab my thinner. Now what I usually do on a project like this is when I'm done painting it, I will heat set it with my heat gun if I have to wait before I put it in the oven. That way I know it's set. If I accidentally grab it or bump it or something, I don't have to worry about smudging what I just did, especially on the prep layer, because that's everything. Okay, now that's back to the consistency that I had it. Okay, so I'll take this again, and since this is a nice even coating, I don't have to do that much pouncing. And I'll definitely like heat set this with the heat gun before I bake it, because it's obviously two-sided and I'm gonna want the paint mostly set because I'm going to have to lay it down on a side that's painted. And you don't want to paint one side and then bake it and then paint the other side, because you're going to have to match whatever seam that you have on the side, and that's really tricky because you would have to perfectly line it up without overlapping, because if you overlap it, it's going to make it darker. And then the little creases around the belly button. Pounce, 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 so you don't get any buildup of color. So I just take it off, slide my hand back in. So I at least do 2 to 3 layers like this of just solid color, and then I go in and start detailing with the darker shades, because the darker shades don't go over the entire body like this. Just all depends on how dark you want your baby. This baby will be like a milk chocolate color. See, and as you can see, there's a line. I didn't bake it, but there's a line there. So what you would do is you get a harder bristle brush and you blend those two together. So do that with the small brush, and then I would like go in with my bigger brush and really pounce the crap out of that. To like blend that line out so you don't have a line to where your sides meet. And you do that on every spot where your painting meets from the front to the back. You get one continuous color. And plus with sponges too, they'll leave like lines from the edge. So that's what I always do. I have a stiffer sponge and a softer sponge, and then my big brush for overall blending, and then other brushes for creases. And I don't use like specific brushes. I just use for whatever brush I have clean that I know will do what I need it to do. And I used to use mop brushes, but I stopped because they would break apart. So like these long skinny rectangular brushes fit better in the creases and blend more, so I like will do that in the crease, and then I'll come back with a bigger brush and just blend it out. So I'm going to finish doing this. I'm going to heat set this, so by the time that my head has 4 more minutes, so I'll heat set this and then set it aside, and then by the time the head's done, I'll take the oven, the top off the oven, let that head cool for a few minutes, then I'll pop this in there. So by the time that I have my limbs cooking or baking, I'll already be able to start the next wash on my head. So I'm constantly flowing with painting and baking. That looks pretty good overall. So this single layer would work for a warm skin tone for a Caucasian baby, or you know, new baby. You can do like a either the warm blush wash or the redder one that we use for blushing. Is it blushing? Warm wash, warm blush. You know, the one they say for lips, nails, and stuff. You could do a really, really light red to do like newborn baby, freshly born. So I'm going to put this here, turn off the camera, heat set that, and then do limbs. And I might do another video before I go to bed after I do the yellow wash and stuff. We'll see, because I get on a roll and I'll stay up late, and I'm gonna try not to stay up late. So, I shall be back later.